is Ivan One the Pastor, and today I have Tien, and he's going to show us his Extreme Battler Deck Profile. So hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, so this is my Extreme Battler deck. So,
excuse me, guys. I need to get in here.
So for my starter, it's obviously going to be Rumble. So, as starters go, it's the best one since it synergizes with most of the stand effects. The trigger lineup isn't actually standard. It runs 8 crit, 4 stand, no draws, and 4 heals. Skipping ahead, since I started off with my starter, so going straight to grade 3, I run 4 Victors, obviously, because he's just good. For my backup, I run 4 Muscle Shriek. That's really it. Like, instead of Break Rides, I guess I would just run Muscle Shriek because most decks rely on their starters to get off their combo. If I can, take away that extra combo piece, I guess it would be alright. Plus, its effect is actually really good. Now, instead of Sazanda, I run 4 Gunzork. I find that Sazanda is really slow in certain cases, because most of the time it will hit the same amount of numbers even if you put it behind, or if you put it in front of Rumble. To hit better numbers than Gunzork, you would have to stand Sazanda like twice, and you'd hit about 34. So in comparison, I believe that Gunzork is actually better, especially when getting boosted by maybe something like an Energy Charger or an Energy Girl. Still hits for good stuff. Still hits for good numbers. So that's my reasoning. Now, 4 Cool Hanks, really standard, really good card, sets up your combos very well. And 4 Starlit Hedgehogs. Now, the reason that I run this over Street Bouncer is that this is, like, judging by the trigger lineup, I feel like this is a more aggressive deck, especially since you don't really have any mechanics that can last you until the late game. Even though this deck can do well in the late game, it is better suited for mid game. Now for the standard 1-drops, so 4 Null Guards. I use the newer Null Guards just because, well, even though the cross is a thing, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, if you don't let them if you don't let them do what they want to, then you're just minusing yourself, and you're like, it's just one deck. Let's just say that. So standard as well would be 4 Arshids. This is obviously really good for the deck because it runs on Generation Break and deck winning. All the deck thinning for the deck winning. So then for my tech choices, I have 3 Claydol Mechanics. Even though most of their effects are 1 Counterblast, you'll use them most of the time because, 1, I like getting topped off on my Counterblast, and because during the mid game, especially with Vic Plasma as a Counterblast 2, it's pretty good.
What are they, Billy Beans?
For my last grade 1s, I run 2 Energy Chargers. Now, it is a bit slower in this deck because there's nothing that soul charges, and it doesn't synergize very well with Muscle Shriek because you'll only have 2 in soul rather than, So if you're going to run either of them, I would suggest that you try to go for Victor. So it's really dependent on the situation if you want to use Energy Charger or Muscle Streak. If their deck runs on their starter, like maybe, for example, Murakumo, sure, just go ahead and slap this down, wreck them. While if you just need the extra draw just for maybe some stride fodder or something, then just go ahead and use Energy Charger. Now for my strides, this is before Clan Fight is implemented, so I've had a lot of good success with this stride lineup. So first I run 2 Blades, which I will replace with a Vic 10 and an Atmos. And like really, I shouldn't have to tell you guys about why Blade is so good. I can really just set up multiple attacks with this, just like how Royal Paladin does, but it works a lot better with Nova Grapplers because I can then combo off like a Cool Hank or maybe Starlight Hedgehog, adding another effect onto a rear guard, and then plussing off of that. Then obviously I would run 4 Victor Plasmas. Victor Plasmas by itself is really good. It doesn't really need any support other than, attacking for 26 and then restanding for a pretty good cost. Plus, since it's an activate ability, if I'm missing Counterblast during the late game or something like that, if I get into late game, then I can just plop down a Claydol Mechanic, maybe I'll run through some Red Lightnings, and then, then I can use the skill. Then finally I have my 2 Vic Plasmas. I rarely ever stride these because of the Blades for now. Once Clan Fight gets implemented, I'll probably have to stride these at first. And they're not bad, obviously. But they lack a bit of utility when it comes to options, because all you can do is obviously when this attack hits, then you standard unit and then +5. But most of the time your effects from your different rear guards or Victor will probably go off. The only time this would be really good is if it was splashed into like maybe a deck that doesn't have these types of skills, maybe like Asura Kaiser, even though there is going to be a new stride for Asura Kaiser and like the like. So maybe Blau, maybe, I don't know, Death Army if you're feeling really bad. So yeah, that's basically it. It's a fairly simple build. Very little variance between what is in the deck, but I guess a few tech choices here and there will like change your experience with what the deck will be. So yeah, I'm not saying that Szanda is better or worse than Gunzork, but to my taste, Gunzork is just faster, in my opinion. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile.